Hey guys, tonight we begin with a question that has followed humanity into the quiet hours. Do dreams reveal hidden truths about reality? Welcome. Find a position that feels like home to your body. Let your shoulders soften. Let your breathing slow, not forced, simply softer, steady, observant. This evening we will move slowly, like light across a sleeping field. We will look without hurry at why we dream, what those nightly theatres mean, and whether the strange scenes our minds create might reflect something more than mere noise. We will travel through science and story, philosophy and bedside wisdom, and we will rest in the space between questions, because sometimes the asking is part of the answer. Before we settle in and begin our peaceful journey, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, only if what I share here truly resonates with you. Your support helps me create more of these videos. And if you feel like it, let me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is. It's always fascinating to see the many corners of the world where we connect. Now dim the lights, make yourself comfortable, and let's ease into tonight's journey together as we explore what lies ahead. Chapter 1. The Mystery of Dreams. Why do we dream at all? Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a quiet coastal town at night. The sea breathes in and out, a slow, patient rhythm. Houses are small lanterns against the dark. A distant fishing boat hums like a sleepy insect. Somewhere a clock marks time with a tiny, honest tick. Somewhere else, a child turns and murmur speaks into a pillow. That murmur, light, private, inexplicable, is part of a chorus we all know. Across cultures and centuries, in cities and deserts, on mountain plateaus and beneath tropical stars, minds create when the lights go out. That creation, dreaming, is one of the human constants. It is as ordinary as blinking and as mysterious as the far horizon. There is a river under our feet here, steady and deep. We wade in it every night, and yet we rarely agree on what its current carries. For some, dreams are private cinemas stitched from memory and feeling. For others, they are messages, subtle, symbolic, perhaps even sacred. Both impressions have lived side by side for as long as we've recorded our thoughts. Long ago, people treated dreams with a kind of reverence. In villages where stories are a community's weather, dream keepers listened to the night like sailors reading the wind. Many cultures believed dreams carried counsel from gods and ancestors. An image in a dream could be read like a map. A fox might mean cunning. A field might mean abundance. A broken wheel might be a warning. Shamans and elders taught people how to follow these images, how to trace the thread between a dream and a next-day choice. These were not idle tales. They were practical languages for living with the unknown. A farmer might interpret a dream to decide when to sow. A mother might be comforted by a dream that felt like a visit from someone she had loved and lost. The world between waking and sleeping was treated as porous, a place where guidance, memory, and mystery met. Then, another voice began to speak. The rational, observing mind, curious, careful, impatient with mystery, turned tools toward the night. Physicians, philosophers, and scientists began watching sleep like an animal to be observed, catalogued, understood. With microscopes and electroencephalograms, they saw that the sleeping brain was not blank at all, but alive, cycling through stages, sometimes quiet, sometimes wildly active. Over time, three broad answers gathered around the question, why do we dream? Each offers a different kind of comfort, and each may touch a different corner of the truth. First, dreams as biological maintenance. Think of the brain as a vast nocturnal workshop. During sleep, neural networks are rearranging, pruning what's unnecessary, strengthening what matters. Memories consolidate, emotions get filed. From this bustle, images may emerge, a collage of the day's scraps. In this account, dreams are a byproduct of maintenance, the mind's leftover footage from an essential sorting process. There is a practical elegance to this idea. It explains why dreams often draw on recent experiences and why sleep is crucial for learning. Yet it does not fully explain why those images sometimes arrive charged with symbolism, meaning, and the capacity to change us. Second, dreams as psychological meaning. Here, dreams are not mere leftovers, but messages from the deeper mind. Freud suggested that dreams disguised unspoken wishes. Jung proposed that dreams tapped into a shared field of archetypes, motifs that recur across cultures and time. In this view, the people and places in our dreams are metaphorical language. The locked door may hint at resistance. The river might be a pathway through grief. The act of flying might be freedom or anxiety, depending on the heart that dreams it. Dream work becomes a kind of gentle excavation, a way to bring to light feelings and conflicts that daylight might not easily handle. And third, dreams as transcendent communication. Some traditions and contemporary thinkers allow for something more. Dreams as windows, partial, sometimes cryptic, into realities beyond the individual. Think of prophetic dreams, of stories where people report the same dream without having seen one another. Think of the feeling, after a certain dream, that you have touched a truth that somehow precedes words. This possibility is the hardest for strict materialists to accept, and yet it persists in human testimony like a silver thread through many cultures. Stories like Maya's, which I'll share in a moment, are not scientific proof. They are, instead, invitations, soft knocks at the door of wonder. Let me hold one such invitation with you now. Years ago, on a wet, ordinary evening, a woman named Maya woke with the scent of rain still in her hair and a clear, singular image in her mind. A narrow wooden bridge arched over a stream, and on it, an old man wearing a red scarf. She could not place the bridge. The image felt like a small stubborn tide. Later that day, on a whim of curiosity rather than conviction, she wandered into the town library. In a dusty local history volume, she found a yellowed photograph. The same arched bridge, and a man, decades earlier, wrapped in a red scarf. The picture was placed there by someone who had lived in that town all his life. For Maya, the coincidence widened rather than closed the mystery. Was it memory? A subconscious echo? Or something quieter? A thread connecting an inner image to an outer trace? She could not say. The experience made her quieter for a while. She walked more slowly and listened more carefully to the small, ordinary signs of life. Stories like Maya's do not resolve the argument between science and spirit, but they do something else. They humanize the question. They remind us that dreaming is not merely an academic topic. It is a lived rhythm, stitched into the fabric of our nights and days. There is comfort, perhaps, in holding all three possibilities together. Imagine two hands cupping a small, steady flame. In one hand rests science, patient, methodical, lighting up mechanisms and patterns. In the other rests tradition and intuition, the languages of myth and symbol and soul. Each hand warms the flame. Neither must extinguish the other. The light that emerges is gentler and more inviting than certainty alone. As you breathe quietly now, Picture the inside of your head like a winter sky. Some nights are clear, full of distant cold stars. Other nights, clouds gather and thunder moves softly across the horizon. The dreams that come are like weather. Some luminous and calm, others stormy, some nearly silent. Each night's landscape has its own character, and each dream its own small weather system. Near the close of this chapter, let me place one more simple thought before you. The mystery of dreaming is not an absence, but a doorway. We do not need to force an answer. We do not need to decide tonight whether dreams are maintenance, metaphor, or message. Instead, we can practice the art of gentle attention, keeping watch like a lighthouse keeper, patient and steady, welcoming whatever ships of image and feeling come into view. In the chapters to come, we will walk more deliberately into the mind's nocturnal workshops. We will sit with REM rhythms and neural patterns, and we will listen to the voices of Freud and Jung and the modern explorers of the sleeping brain. We will enter experiences of lucidity, where the dreamer becomes aware within the dream, and we will consider whether waking life might, in some philosophical sense, share qualities with dreaming. If an image from this chapter lingers with you, the coastal town, the scent of rain, the red scarf on the bridge, carry it gently into the next hour of listening. Let it be a small, soft companion rather than a puzzle to be solved. Breathe in slowly and out. Chapter 2. Inside the dreaming mind. What actually happens when we dream? Breathe in gently now and breathe out. Let the rhythm of your body slow, like a soft tide. As we move into this chapter, imagine sliding down a velvet stair into a quiet room inside your own head. The room is dim, but not empty. Light pools in corners where memory and feeling sit, waiting. Our question here is simple. What does the brain do when it dreams? What machinery hums beneath the surface? And how does a few pounds of tissue create a whole world that feels for a while completely real? Sleep comes in stages, and dreaming tends to visit us most in a stage called REM, rapid eye movement. Picture REM like a night sea under a star, a time when the mind's waves are high and bright. During REM, your eyes move beneath closed lids, your breathing and heart rate may change, and the brain lights up in patterns that look a lot like waking life. Scientists watch this on screens as bright, wavy lines. Those lines tell a story. Parts of the brain that manage emotion and visual images are alive and working, while areas that do planning and strict logic quiet down. That quiet helps explain why dreams often feel vivid and emotional, yet strange in ways that would not pass a daytime logic test. To make this plain, imagine your brain as a theatre. During the day, the theatre runs rehearsals, taking in scenes, learning lines, storing props. At night, when the curtain falls, the stage crew moves the props around, sometimes in strange new combinations. The actors, memory, emotion, and image improvise. The director, who keeps everything sensible and in order, steps out for a break. In that space, surprising stories can appear. Memory plays a big role in this nightly theatre. One of the brain's memory helpers stores recent experiences and gradually moves them into longer-term storage. During sleep, this process speeds up. The brain replays bits of the day, sorting what to keep, what to toss, and what to file away. This shuffling sometimes leads to dreams that stitch together fragments of recent moments with older memories. A scent you noticed at the grocery store may get mixed with a childhood hallway and an imagined conversation. These odd blends are not random trash. They are the brain testing links, finding patterns and making sense of what you have lived. Emotions are also especially active in dreams. The part of the brain that reacts to fear and strong feelings, the amygdala, often shows more activity during REM than it does while you are awake. That is why dreams can feel so intense. Joy, dread, longing and shame can appear in amplified forms. Dreams offer a kind of rehearsal space for emotion. In that space, frightening situations might play out in safer forms, allowing the mind to practice responses or to rework painful feelings into something more manageable. This emotional processing may be one reason we wake from dreams feeling lighter or sometimes heavier, as if some inner knot was tugged at in the night. The part of the brain that helps with clear, step-by-step thinking, the prefrontal cortex, is quieter during much of dreaming. That is the region that says, "That doesn't make sense," or "check the facts." With it softened, the dreaming mind accepts strange logic, leaps in time, and impossible events without protest. You can fly, speak to a dead relative, walk through a door that opens into the ocean, and it all feels natural. This reduced critical voice is part of what makes dreams convincing. The dream world doesn't need to follow the rules of daylight reasoning. It follows its own inner rules, driven by feeling and symbol. The visual parts of the brain, however, can be very active. Regions that process images and spatial form light up, producing vivid scenes. This is why some dreams feel like movies in color, rich with texture and motion. Sometimes, the brain even borrows the sensory language of other systems, recreating smells, touches, and sounds with surprising detail. You might wake with the moisture of rain on your skin remembered, or with a taste on your tongue that isn't there. The brain's ability to simulate senses is striking. In the privacy of sleep, it becomes a world maker. Different kinds of dreams come with slightly different patterns. Ordinary dreams are the rivers of images we drift through, sometimes coherent, sometimes fragmented. Nightmares are dreams charged with fear and alarm. They often involve threats and strong survival feelings. Nightmares may be more likely when we are stressed, anxious, or remembering trauma. They can wake us quickly, the body reacting as if threatened. There is a purpose hypothesized here. Some researchers suggest dreams act as a practice ground for danger, a safe place to run through threat scenarios, so we might respond better when awake. Whether or not this is the whole story, it is clear that when the brain senses a need to process fear, dreams can become intense classrooms. Lucid dreams are a different and fascinating experience. In a lucid dream, you know, while you are inside it, that you are dreaming. That knowing brings a kind of gentle electricity into the dream. Some lucid dreamers can change the dream scene, fly on purpose, or simply float and watch. On the brain side, lucid dreaming often shows increased activity in areas linked to self-awareness. The parts that were quieter earlier, it's as if the director returns to the stage, becoming conscious inside the play. This return of awareness changes the nature of the dream. The dreamer can cooperate with the scene, explore it curiously, or gently shift what is happening. Why does the brain create such convincing simulations? One idea is that the brain is, by nature, a prediction machine. It continuously builds models of the world to guess what comes next. Those models help us act smoothly in life, from reaching for a cup to navigating a busy street. When we sleep, the brain keeps working on these models, trying out variations, testing possibilities, and rehearsing responses. Dreams are the playground where those models are run in imagined scenarios. In dreaming, the brain can test an action without real risk, a virtual reality made from memory and feeling. Another part of this story is creativity. Dreaming seems to loosen the mind's tight rules. With logic softened and associations freer, unusual combinations of thoughts appear. Many artists and inventors report dreams that offered surprising ideas. The mind's nocturnal mixing sometimes yields new ways of seeing old problems. In the quiet theatre of sleep, novel connections are born. There are also nights when dreams feel more than private inventions. Sometimes people report dreams that continue across nights, with recurring themes, places, or people. Other times, two or more people tell similar dreams, shared details like the same strange hallway or the same symbol. These cases are rare, but they invite curiosity. Are they coincidence, shared culture, or some deeper link between minds? The brain's pattern-seeking nature may explain some of this. When many people share a culture or story, dream images can mirror shared symbols. Yet the possibility of a deeper connection remains an open, gentle question. Now imagine again the theatre, you, the mind, the sleeping house. Tonight, we have walked the backstage. We have seen which machines hum, which lights go on, and which actors improvise. We have learned that memory is sorting, emotion is rehearsing, and logic takes a breath. We have understood that the dreaming world is crafted by brain systems that mix past and present into a convincing scene. But we have not yet answered whether those scenes point to something beyond the brain. As we move forward, keep a soft curiosity about how your own dreams feel. Notice whether they are bright with color or muted, full of motion or still. If a dream returns again and again, make a gentle note of it, like a stone placed by the roadside. These pieces will form clues in later chapters as we explore symbolism, shared dreams, and the edges where neuroscience and meaning meet. Before we leave this chapter, hold for a moment a short, quiet story. A man named Thomas had a nightly dream in which he sat at a table under a tree across from a woman he could never clearly see. Each night, the same scene unfolded. The tree's leaves silver in moonlight, the sound of a distant river. Thomas began to feel that the dream was a place to sit with a part of himself he did not know. Over months, as he paid gentle attention to the feeling tones in the dream, the pauses, the silences, the small comforts, he found that waking life shifted. He recognized choices he had been avoiding, small acts of kindness he had delayed. For Thomas, the dream acted like a mirror, offering a quiet reflection that, when attended to, suggested small changes. Whether the woman in the dream was a symbol or a chance meeting in some wider field is less important than the way the dream invited attention, and through that attention, helped a life change. As you rest in this soft knowledge, know that what we have covered in this chapter prepares us to dive next into the realm of meaning, the language of symbols, myth, and the ways the unconscious may speak. We will next sit with the great voices who tried to read dreams as messages, and we will ask whether dream images can point to hidden truths about ourselves. Let your breath be slow and easy. When you are ready, we will move on. Chapter 3: The Psychology of Dreams. Messages from the unconscious. Breathe in slowly and let your body settle into the surface beneath you. As we move deeper, picture a quiet room with soft cushions arranged in a circle. In that circle sit ideas that have guided many people for a long time. old maps of the mind drawn by people who wanted to make sense of the strange images that visit us at night. Tonight, we will sit in that circle together. We will listen to those maps without needing to believe them absolutely. We will use them as tools, gentle lenses that can help us look at our dreams with compassion and curiosity. Two names often surface when we speak of dreams and meaning: Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. Their ideas shaped much of how people in the modern world think about dreams, and though their language can sound old-fashioned at times, the heart of their work still offers useful ways to approach our night images. Freud suggested, simply put, that dreams often hide wishes. He believed many of our desires live under a guarded door, and the mind uses symbols to slip those wishes into the light. For Freud, a dream about a locked attic or a secret letter might point to a wish or a fear we are not ready to say aloud. He taught that the mind disguises uncomfortable truths so that we can sleep without being overwhelmed. This was not a neat rule for every dream, but a framework to help people find personal meaning. If you imagine the mind as a house, Freud thought some rooms were kept private. Dreams, in his view, were a kind of secret note passed from one room to another. Jung took a different path. He found Freud's focus on hidden wishes useful, but he wanted a bigger map. Jung noticed that people across different cultures sometimes dream similar images: a mountain, a wise old figure, a river that cleanses. He thought these recurring images were not only personal but shared by many minds. He called this shared field the collective unconscious, and he named those common images archetypes. Archetypes are like basic story forms that appear in myths, art, and dreams: the hero, the shadow, the wise old one, the great mother. Jung saw dreams as messages from a larger source, guiding a person's growth. Where Freud looked for hidden wishes, Jung looked for directions toward wholeness, ways the psyche was nudging a person to become more complete. Modern psychology has layered more findings onto these early maps. We now understand that dreams can reflect unresolved emotions, cognitive patterns, and the brain's way of solving problems. Therapists often treat dreams as useful clues. If a patient dreams of always being late for a train, a therapist might ask, "What in waking life feels like a missed opportunity?" If someone dreams repeatedly of falling, it could be about feeling out of control or losing support. The value of this kind of work is not in forcing a single meaning onto a dream, but in using the dream as a mirror. The dream shows a pattern, a feeling, or an image that the person can explore and test against their waking life. Recurring dreams deserve special attention because they often point to issues that feel unresolved. When a dream repeats, like the same hallway returning through different nights, the mind may be keeping attention on something important. Recurring dreams can be rooted in fear, habit, or trauma. They can be stubborn teachers. For example, a person who keeps seeing a childhood home may be processing old hurt. The dream asks, gently but persistently, for attention and healing. In therapeutic settings, working with recurring dreams can sometimes lead to shifts in waking behavior. The dream's image changes, or the dreamer wakes feeling less burdened. That shift suggests that paying steady, compassionate attention to a dream can transform its power. Symbols are another large part of the psychological map. Dreams often speak in images rather than straight statements. A snake might not literally mean a snake. It could mean change, danger, healing, or something else entirely, depending on the dreamer and the culture. The helpful way forward is to treat symbols as personal metaphors. Ask, what does the symbol stir in you? What memory or feeling arises when you think of it? Symbols are doors to feelings and stories. They are not codebooks with one right translation. If a symbol keeps returning, lean in with curiosity. Journal about it, draw it, talk about it. The act of noticing itself begins to shift how the dream works. There are also defensive dreams, those that protect the mind from something painful. When a person has been through a shock, the first dreams afterward can be bright with fragments, sudden loud noises, flashes of light, or scenes that feel disconnected. These are not random. They are the mind's early attempts to hold and process what was overwhelming. In time, if the mind can find ways to contain the feeling through rest, support, or therapy, the dreams can soften. That gentle softening is an invitation. The dream moves from a raw replay toward integration. Watching that change can be a quiet measure of healing. Dreams can offer creative insight. Many people report waking with solutions, ideas for art, or new ways to speak about old problems. This stems from the dream's loosening of daytime rules. Without the constant editing of daytime logic, new combinations appear. If you want to use your dreams as a source of creativity, try setting a small intention before sleep. It could be as simple as, "Tonight, I will dream about how to solve the tiny problem of X." Keep it gentle. The goal is not to demand an answer, but to invite the mind's creative resources. Dream sharing has been practiced in many cultures. People would tell their dreams to others, often elders or keepers of tradition, who would help interpret them. The act of sharing makes dreams public and brings fresh perspectives. When you say a dream aloud, it changes shape. The story of it becomes clearer and new meanings may appear. If you have a trusted friend, consider sharing a dream now and then. Listen without judgment. Ask what stands out and what feelings the dream stirred. Often, the simple act of being heard helps a dream loosen its hold. There's also a gentle method we can use alone: dream journaling. Keep a small notebook by your bed. When you wake, stay still for a moment and let the dream come back. Write down whatever you remember: images, feelings, fragments of speech. Do not edit or analyze yet. Later, when you are calm, read what you wrote and ask mild questions. What part of me does this image touch? When else have I felt this way? Is there a small step I could take in waking life to answer this dream's call? These small steps make dream work practical. They turn night images into midday companions. Now, a quiet story to hold. There once was a woman named Asha who dreamed of a closed garden. Each night she walked up to the gate and sat with her hand on the iron latch, but she never opened it. Over months of gentle journaling, she realized the garden symbolized her capacity for rest. She'd been living with a constant rush: work, chores, worry. And the locked gate was her mind's way of signaling the need for a boundary. Asha began to practice saying no to small demands and set aside an hour each evening for silence. The dream changed. One night she found herself inside the garden, sitting on a stone bench as light moved through leaves. The opening of the gate in her dream had followed the opening she made in her life. This small, real change was quiet and slow, yet it had a deep effect. Dreams can sometimes be gentle coaches, suggesting practical steps that help the living person feel more whole. It is important to keep compassion at the center of dream work. Dreams can expose parts of ourselves we do not like, or they can press on wounds. Approach your dreams like an old friend who has come with news. Do not punish yourself for strange images. Do not assume every dream must be solved. Some dreams only want to be witnessed. Being a calm witness is powerful. It tells the dreaming mind that it is safe to speak. Before we close this chapter, let us look ahead in a calm, curious way. We have sat with the psychological maps of Freud and Jung, and we have learned simple, practical ways to work with dreams: journaling, sharing, gentle intention, and noticing recurring themes. In the next chapter, we will step into a bright and different room, lucid dreaming, where awareness enters the dream itself. We will explore what it means to know you are dreaming while the dream is happening, and how that knowing changes the relationship between you and your night images. If you have ever wondered what it would be like to greet your dream and speak with it, that chapter will be a quiet guide. For now, rest with the soft idea that your dreams are not enemies or riddles to be solved under pressure. They are parts of you speaking in images and feeling. Treat them kindly, notice them. If a dream lingers, take it as an invitation to small, gentle action. When you are ready, let your breath guide you into a deeper quiet. The next chapter will open when you are ready to continue. Chapter 4. The Lucid Breakthrough. When you realize you're dreaming. Breathe in slowly. Let your shoulders drop. Imagine a gentle light behind your eyes, not sharp but soft like moonlight through thin curtains. Tonight, we step into a very quiet but powerful room, the moment of waking inside a dream. This is lucid dreaming, the place where the dreamer recognizes the dream. It is not waking in the usual sense. It is a meeting, a friendly turning of the lamp inside the dream, so that you can see the scene with both wonder and gentle clarity. Lucid dreams can feel like walking into a familiar house and suddenly remembering you own the keys. The immediate difference is simple. You know you are dreaming. That knowing changes everything. Where ordinary dreams flow like a river you are carried by, lucid dreams become a canoe you can steer, at least a little. You may feel the quiet delight of flying on purpose, the curious peace of asking a dream figure a question, or the calm courage of changing a nightmare into a safe scene. For many, lucidity brings a sense of freedom and curiosity wrapped together. What happens in the brain when lucidity arrives? Picture for a moment the evening theatre we visited earlier. Most dreams occur with the director, the part of your brain that reasons and plans, resting. In lucid dreams, that director quietly returns. Areas that help you reflect on yourself and judge reality wake up a bit. The dream remains vivid and emotional, but now a part of you can observe and sometimes guide it. This return of self-awareness often brings a steady light into what had been a private movie, and with that light comes a new kind of presence. People enter lucid dreams in different ways. Sometimes lucidity arrives suddenly, like a surprise guest. You are running, and then you remember, this is a dream. Other times, people practice and create the conditions for lucidity, gently inviting it like a friendly neighbor. There are several safe, simple methods that many find useful. Each method is small and kind, meant to support good sleep rather than disturb it. One simple practice is keeping a dream journal. When you make a quiet habit of writing your dreams down, you increase your dream memory. Over time, patterns and common signs, called dream signs, begin to appear. Perhaps you often find a broken watch in your dreams, or you often find yourself in a crowd where the faces are blurred. When you notice a pattern, it becomes a clue. In the dream, you can learn to ask yourself, Is this a dream? That gentle question sometimes flips the switch to lucidity. Reality checks are another calm tool. During the day, pause now and then and check something simple. Try to push your finger through your palm, glance at a clock and look away and back, or notice whether light changes normally. Do this without judgment, like touching a stone to see its texture. The habit can carry into dreams. In a dream, clocks and text often behave oddly. Your finger might pass through your palm. Noticing such oddities can trigger the realization that you are dreaming. A practiced technique called wake back to bed is also used by many. It is simple. After about 5 to 6 hours of sleep, gently wake. Stay awake for a short time, with a calm intention to return to sleep while holding the idea of becoming aware in the dream, then go back to sleep. Because REM periods lengthen later in the night, this timing often places you in a stage where lucidity is more likely. The key is gentleness. The goal is not to force, but to invite awareness with a soft intention. Another quiet approach is the mnemonic method. Before sleeping, repeat a short, kind phrase to yourself like, "Tonight, I will know I am dreaming." Say it a few times slowly, not demanding an outcome, simply planting a seed of intention. The mind is curious and subtle. That seed sometimes grows into lucidity. Some people practice mindfulness and meditation during the day. This steady habit of noticing thought and sensation can make it easier to notice the mind's flow while dreaming. If you practice noticing distraction or habit in waking life, you're training the same muscle that notices "I am dreaming" in sleep. This is not about doing more. It is about being more gently present. Once lucidity happens, how does one stay calm and safe? A common experience is that the dream rushes with excitement. If you try to force a dramatic act, launching yourself into a wild stunt or demanding extreme control, the dream may dissolve and you may wake. A simple habit helps. Stabilize the scene. Look around slowly. Notice details. Rub your hands together in the dream or touch a nearby surface. Naming details. There is a window, blue curtains, a wooden table. Grounds attention and often deepens lucidity. Breathe calmly. Speak softly to the dream. This steadiness keeps the dream vivid and kind. Lucid dreaming can be used gently for many purposes. Some use it to face fears and transform nightmares. In the safe space of a lucid dream, a person can practice changing a threat into something harmless, rehearse different responses, or simply observe the fear with kind curiosity. Therapists sometimes work with lucid dreaming techniques to help people who suffer frequent nightmares. Creators and problem solvers also value lucid dreams. Because the mind can be more flexible in sleep, many artists and inventors find unusual ideas bloom during lucidity. There are also warnings that deserve a soft mention. Practicing heavy lucid techniques too often or in an obsessive way might fragment sleep for some people. If you notice persistent tiredness, daytime fog, or a disruption in your regular sleep, it is wise to pause and return to gentle sleep habits. People with certain sleep disorders, or those with strong dissociative experiences, should approach lucid practice with care and consider speaking with a sleep or health professional. Lucid dreaming is a friendly tool for most, but like any tool, it works best when used with balance and kindness to the body. Let me share a calm story. There was a woman named Lena who suffered vivid, recurrent nightmares after a painful breakup. Each dream began the same way. She found herself in an empty train station, locked alone, watching trains pass without stopping. After months of troubled sleep, Lena learned about lucid techniques. She began to keep a dream journal and practiced gentle reality checks during the day. One night, in the middle of the familiar dream, she realized softly, "I am dreaming." Instead of running, she sat on a bench and waited. The train slowed. She called a calm image of herself from waking life, a small figure doing yoga by a window, and invited that figure into the dream. The station transformed. Lights warmed, a conductor greeted her, and the trains opened their doors. Lena did not control everything. She listened and gently guided. Over weeks, the nightmare scenes softened. Her sleep grew lighter and less fearful. For Lena, lucidity became not a weapon, but a gentle flashlight, a way to bring kindness back into the night. As we prepare to leave this chapter, notice how lucidity is both simple and profound. It is a recognition, a soft, present knowing inside the dream. It can be practiced with gentle curiosity, kept safe with grounding techniques, and used for healing, creativity, or simple exploration. If you are drawn to try, do so with patience and care. Keep the wonder, not the pressure. In the next chapter, we will move from inner rooms to wide philosophical halls. We will ask a quiet but great question. If dreams can feel so real, what does that mean about the waking world? Are we dreaming while awake in different ways? We will walk with thinkers who called reality into question and explore old and new ways of seeing the border between sleep and waking life. When you are ready to drift onward, allow your breath to lead you gently into deeper calm. Chapter 5. The Mirror of Reality. Are we dreaming while awake? Breathe in now, and as you breathe out, let your awareness come to the quiet edge between thought and feeling. In this chapter, we will walk down a wide, slow corridor of ideas, a place where philosophy and ancient wisdom meet in soft light. The question here is old and patient. If dreams can feel so real, might our waking life also be a kind of dream? We will move gently through familiar voices and simple thought experiments, and we will return to calm and clear practical takeaways. This is not a chapter for answers that force you. It is an invitation to sit with the question and notice what shifts inside you. Long ago, thinkers noticed that waking life can feel uncertain in the same way dreams do. Imagine for a moment the very small shock of stepping into a room and forgetting why you came. That little gap, the way memory slips, shows that our sense of here and now can be fragile. Philosophers built from that small fact into larger questions. One of the most famous is the idea that we might be dreaming even as we think we are awake. In this view, the senses that tell us the world is solid could be like a very convincing dream. The point of these old ideas is not to unsettle you, but to invite humility about how certain we feel. René Descartes, a careful thinker from long ago, used a simple trick to test how much he really knew. He imagined that a powerful deceiver might be making him believe all kinds of things that were not true. If his senses could be fooled while awake, then how could he trust them? From that doubt, he found one anchor, the fact that he was thinking. "I think, therefore I am," became a calm starting place, a single, quiet certainty in a world that might be otherwise dreamlike. The idea gives us a useful tool. Even if reality feels uncertain, our experience of being aware is something we can notice and return to. Other traditions framed this doubt differently, but with similar tenderness. In parts of Hindu thought, the world is sometimes likened to a dream called Maya, a veil that makes the one look many. The image is soft. Life is like a play or a mist that hides the deeper unity of things. Buddhism also uses the dream image as a teaching tool. Some schools ask students to notice how perceptions arise and pass away, much like images in a dream. That noticing is not meant to turn you cold or nihilistic. Rather, it is a gentle practice that can loosen worry and open compassion. If the grip on things softens, people often find space to live with less clenching and more care. Modern philosophy has its own ways of saying similar things. Thought experiments like the brain in a vat ask you to imagine your brain floating in a jar, fed by wires that supply it with every experience you think is real. The point is not to scare you, but to point out how the shape of experience can be separated from the physical things we believe are causing it. These experiments help to show what counts as knowledge and what we must accept on faith. They are like mirrors that remind us how much of our life depends on trust in the senses. There is a very simple example you can try in your mind that shows how perception builds a world. Close your eyes and picture a cup on a table. Notice that the cup is not the thing itself. It is an image your mind creates. Now open your eyes and look at a real cup. Your brain uses light, shape, past knowledge of cups, and the purpose you have for the cup all at once to create the full experience. The cup is part raw data and part story. Perception is always a mix of incoming signals and the brain's best guess. This is why two people can look at the same event and tell different stories. The world we share is built from both the outside and the inside. If waking perception is in part construction, this brings up the idea that reality has layers. One layer is the sense data, sights, sounds, smells that reach us. Another layer is the interpretation the mind gives those signals. The deeper layer, which some traditions and some modern thinkers point toward, is plain awareness itself, the simple, present knowing that sees the building of the story. That knowing is like the clear window through which all the scenes appear. If you rest in that knowing for a moment, you may notice a calm space that is not the story itself. This noticing is not a trick. It is an experience many people describe across cultures and times. That does not mean that waking life is meaningless. If anything, seeing how reality is constructed can make life richer. When you realize part of your experience is story making, you may find the power to change the story. You can choose attention. You can decide what to emphasize and what to let go. If your mind tends to hold on to fear-filled interpretations, gentle practice can help you widen your view. If you feel life is dreamlike in a way that scares you, practical acts, speaking kindly, tending relationships, caring for your body, anchor you. The recognition that reality is partly made by perception invites responsibility, not apathy. You become, in small and real ways, a co-creator of your world. Stories often help this kind of seeing settle into the bones. Consider a quiet tale of a woodcutter named Arun, who spent his days chopping wood and his nights telling stories by the fire. One evening, after a long day's work, he dreamed he was a king. In the dream, he felt the weight of crowns and the command of courts. He woke with a strange sadness, and for a while could not shake the feeling that his life was small. Instead of reacting with despair, Aaron sat quietly and reflected. He realized his identity had been partly shaped by stories. The dream had shown him a possibility, not a command. The next day, he took time to carve a simple wooden crown for himself and placed it in his small hut as a reminder of dignity in ordinary tasks. He did not become a king, but the dream had taught him that meaning can be found in whatever role he chooses to honor. This small shift, gentle and practical, shows how dreamlike experiences can be translated into everyday changes. Another important way this chapter meets life is through the example of illusions. Think of those paintings where the image looks like a vase until you see two faces and then it flips. The same sensations happen inside us. Our minds construct one stable story until a new angle reveals another. Even our sense of time is shaped. Sometimes a slow moment stretches like honey, while other times decades pass like pages in a book. The dream image helps us remember that our experience is not always the fixed thing we take it to be. There are modern ideas that liken our waking world to a kind of simulation. This is an easy analogy to grasp because we now live in a world where virtual environments and video games can feel quite real. The suggestion is not necessarily that we are literally in someone's computer, but that the structures of our perception and our social systems function a bit like layers of programming and interface. The comparison encourages a useful question. If parts of reality are like a screen we look at, what do we see behind the screen? Philosophers and scientists each answer differently, and many of their answers are compatible with the ancient teachings we have been touching. If you are feeling a little restless or intrigued now, hold that carefully. Part of what makes these questions enriching rather than alarming is the softness of curiosity. You do not have to resolve them tonight. The gentle companion here is noticing how solid or dreamlike your waking moments feel, and what that noticing invites you to change. Before we close this chapter, let's gather a few quiet, practical points to carry with you. Notice when you confuse belief for fact. Practice small acts that root you in the body and the world. Cultivate a moment of presence each day where you simply watch the breath or the sky. Use dreams as mirrors for what you care about, not as absolute maps. And remember that seeing the constructed nature of experience can increase compassion for yourself and others. When you realize everyone is making meaning in their own way, it becomes easier to be gentle. As this chapter slides toward its close, we prepare to move into a new room where the subtle meets the unusual, the realm of synchronicities, prophetic dreams, and the strange cases where dreams seem to touch the world beyond the individual mind. We will sit with stories that invite wonder and examine calm explanations that might hold them. There is no rush. Let the next step be slow. Let the mind rest in the soft knowledge that questioning is itself a kind of wakefulness. When you're ready, breathe in deeply, and as you breathe out, let your thoughts settle like leaves on a still pond. Chapter 6: Hidden Truths and Synchronicities. Do dreams connect to the real world? Breathe in slowly and let your body soften. Imagine a gentle pool under moonlight. When you drop a pebble into that pool, rings form and reach the shore. In this chapter, we listen for the soft rings, the small ways dreams sometimes seem to touch waking life. We'll sit with stories that stir the heart, and we'll look at calm, simple reasons those stories might happen. We will hold wonder and doubt together, like two friends sharing a warm blanket. People tell many kinds of stories about dreams that seem to reach across time or minds. Some say a dream foretold an event days later. Others describe dreams shared by two people who do not see each other in waking life. Still others speak of strange coincidences, a symbol from a dream appearing in the day with an odd timing that feels meaningful. These moments can feel like small miracles. They can also feel unsettling. The question we will walk with is gentle. When dreams and life line up in strange ways, what is happening? Let us begin with the idea of prophetic dreams, dreams that seem to predict the future. Imagine a woman named Elise who dreamed calmly and in detail of a small house on a hill with blue shutters and a red bicycle leaning nearby. A week later, while driving through a nearby town, she saw the exact house. The scene surprised her. Did her dream reach forward, or had her mind quietly noticed the house in passing and stored the image without telling her? These two possibilities are near each other, and both are quiet and reasonable. One simple reason prophetic dreams might feel true is pattern recognition. The human mind is designed to find links and stories. We notice connections that fit a pattern and forget the many times nothing notable followed a dream. This is a natural habit called confirmation bias. We remember hits and forget misses. If you dream 30 nights and one dream matches an odd event later, that one match feels special and the other 29 fade. The mind likes meaning, and it will collect small signs that fit the story it prefers. Related to this is cryptomnesia, a fancy word that can be stated simply: sometimes we remember something but think it is new. We may see a picture, overhear a phrase, or pass a place without making it conscious. Later we call it a dream that foretold the scene. The honest and calm thing to do is not to judge ourselves for this. Our minds are full of small notes we do not always know we took. Noticing this gently can help us hold prophetic dreams with care. There are also statistical truths that feel like surprises. With billions of people dreaming each night, rare matches will happen by chance. If you dream of a snowy street, somewhere in the world a snowy street will appear that day. The world is large and coincidences will occur. That does not make the feeling any less lovely when it happens to you. The heart still opens. The wise path is to enjoy the wonder while keeping a soft curiosity about why it happened. Some dreams feel more than coincidence because they carry an inner truth rather than a literal event. A dream of a broken clock, for example, might presage a sudden change in how you value time. That is not a literal prediction, but a symbolic one. Dreams often speak in images that match inner shifts. In that sense, they are prophetic, not because they foretell a date or number, but because they reveal a developing direction within a person's life. This kind of prophecy is subtle and intimate. It asks you to look inward, not to check the news. Shared dreams and collective experiences are another gentle mystery. In small communities, tribes, or families, people sometimes report similar images. Two siblings might dream of the same house. A group might report a dream about a coming harvest. Part of this can be shared culture. People use the same stories, symbols, and daily life, so their dream language uses the same pictures. Another part is social influence. When people talk about stories, those stories enter others' minds and later appear in dreams. Again, nothing magical is lost by this explanation. Cultural connection is a real form of joining. There are rarer reports of true simultaneous details, where two people dream nearly the same scene without obvious contact. These stories are hard to study and hard to prove. They invite wonder and careful skepticism in equal measure. Some thinkers call this manifestation of a shared field a collective mind, or the collective unconscious, a term from Jung. Others suggest that the stories may arise from subtle communication, shared stress, or even a coincidence that feels too close to ignore. For now, these cases remain unusual, and they invite gentle curiosity rather than firm conclusions. Synchronicities are a related idea. A synchronicity is a meaningful coincidence, like dreaming of a name and then meeting the person that day. Carl Jung spoke of such events as meaningful connections that are not causal in a simple way. He suggested there might be patterns of meaning that are not explained by cause and effect, but by deeper correspondence. Whether or not such a field exists as Jung imagined, synchronicities point to the human love of meaning. They remind us we are storytellers who find threads that bind separate events together. So how might we hold these experiences with wise care? Here are a few calm practices you can adopt if a dream or coincidence touches you. Record the dream and the date. Keep a simple note of what you dreamed and when. If something in waking life later matches it, note that too. Over time, you will build a small map that can show whether such matches happen often or only rarely. This practice keeps memory honest and opens the door to learning. Look for symbolic meaning first. Ask whether the dream's power might be about an inner shift rather than a literal event. Dreams often nudge us toward inner work, saying yes to a new habit, noticing a relationship, or facing a fear. Avoid urgent action based solely on a dream. Dreams can guide, but they are not a map with a single route. If a dream feels to compel a big decision, pause, consult trusted friends, and take small testable steps. Dreams are helpful counselors when we treat them as advisors, not dictators. Share the dream carefully. Telling a trusted friend or therapist can help you see new angles, but remember that others will bring their own stories and may urge meanings that do not fit you. Choose listeners gently. Practice gratitude and awe. If a dream lines up with the day in a way that warms you, allow yourself to feel wonder. These moments can be small blessings that make life feel alive and connected. Let that feeling be part of the reward, while also keeping your feet on earth. A short story to hold. There was a teacher named Ramon who dreamt of a small door in an old schoolhouse. In the dream, light leaked under the door, and beyond it, a quiet hall led to a room full of children reading. Days later, Ramon walked by an old school building and saw a similar door. He felt a lift in his chest. He did not quit his job or move. He simply began each week to bring extra books for kids who needed them. The dream had not instructed him in specifics. It had returned his attention to something he already cared about. In the months after, small changes spread in his classroom. That gentle turning toward what matters is one of the kindest ways prophetic feeling dreams can change a life. As this chapter draws to a soft close, hold both wonder and care. Dreams can feel like bridges. Sometimes the bridge is a trick of light. Sometimes it carries real weight. Either way, the invitation is the same. Notice, respond with gentle wisdom, and allow the dream to be a friend rather than an absolute map. Stay with me as we move on. In the next chapter, we will sit with a deeper question. What if consciousness itself is the dreamer? We will visit ideas that say the universe might be held in awareness, and we will do so in a calm, clear way. There are still many rooms to explore, each with a different light. Chapter 7. Consciousness as the dreamer. Who or what is experiencing all this? Breathe in slowly. Breathe out. Let your attention soften and settle like dust, finding a still surface. If you rest quietly for a moment, you may notice a small, steady feeling right now. The sense of being here, of noticing breath, words, images. That sense is what we call awareness or consciousness. In this chapter, we will sit with that quiet fact. Something is watching the dreams, and something is awake even when the eyes are closed. Who or what is that watcher? Could that watcher itself be the deepest ground of reality? The one who dreams the whole show? This question has followed people for thousands of years. Some say consciousness is an effect, a kind of light thrown off by the brain. Others say consciousness is primary, the ground on which the brain and the world appear. Both views invite careful, calm attention. We will walk them gently, keeping practical sense close at hand. Let us begin with a simple experiment you can try with closed eyes. Bring to mind for a moment a color, maybe blue or green. Notice that you do not only see the color, you know you are seeing it. There is the color image, and there is the knowing of the color. Now shift to a memory, a face, a song, a smell. The memory appears, and again, there is the knowing. That knowing feels present and constant, whether the image changes or not. You might think of it as the stage on which every picture arrives. This stage does not have edges. It is not another picture among pictures. It is simply the presence in which pictures appear. Some thinkers call this presence the observer or the witness. In many spiritual teachings, it is described as the self with a big S, the simple awareness that does not change even while life moves. If you press gently on that awareness, you may find it feels steady, quiet, and always here. For some, this discovery is small and private. For others, it is life-shifting. One way people explore the watcher is through meditation. Sit quietly and watch the breath. When thoughts come, notice them as thoughts. When feelings arise, notice them as feelings. The basic practice is to turn attention back to awareness itself and to rest in it. Over time, the practice can reveal a surprising thing. The feeling of being the person who owns the thoughts can soften. The sense of a small, separate self becomes less tight. Instead, there is a wider openness that includes thoughts, feelings, and the sense of being. This change often brings calm, and it can also bring a gentle clarity about how we relate to experience. Another path to this question is through simple logic. If every experience, sights, sounds, pains, joys, happens inside awareness, then awareness cannot itself be just another experience. If it were, who would notice it? It points to the idea that awareness is a kind of background that makes experience possible. That does not prove anything beyond doubt, but it gives a plain and useful frame. To understand dreams, it helps to understand the one who experiences them. Different traditions use different words and images for the watcher. In some old texts, the world is called a dream of the divine, a way of saying the one is playing with many faces. In other accounts, tiny sparks of experience are woven into everything, from stones to stars, suggesting that consciousness is everywhere in small degrees, like morning light that touches every surface. These are big images. Their value is poetic and practical. They invite a different attitude toward life. If awareness is shared, then life becomes something to treat with more tenderness. Science adds another piece to the puzzle. Brain activity correlates with states of awareness. Damage to certain brain areas changes what is experienced. This shows that the brain and consciousness are deeply related. Yet science also shows that some features of awareness, the simple knowing, are not the same as any single brain pattern. When you look at the brain, you find a dance of electrical activity. When you look at awareness, you find a quiet space that notices that dance. The mystery sits between these two facts, clear links and a kind of difference in kind. People solve that mystery in different ways. One simple view says, consciousness arises from the brain. Just as a radio produces music when power flows through it, the brain produces awareness when it reaches certain levels and patterns. This view asks us to study the brain carefully and learn how awareness emerges from complexity. Another view says, consciousness is primary. The brain is a kind of instrument or lens that shapes how consciousness appears. In this picture, consciousness already exists. The brain is the local stage. The difference is subtle but deep. In the first, consciousness is a result. In the second, consciousness is the root. Both views invite careful curiosity rather than dogma. An in-between position tries to say both. Maybe consciousness and the brain are two aspects of the same underlying reality. Imagine a coin with two faces. From one side, you can see the face that looks like matter and neurons. From the other side, you see the face that looks like experience. They are two ways of talking about the same thing. This way of thinking keeps open both the lab's careful tests and the quiet witness's inner knowledge. Now consider what it would mean if consciousness were indeed the dreamer, the deep thing behind both dreams and waking life. For starters, it changes our approach to ethics and care. If awareness is not private property but a common field, then how we treat others matters in a broader way. Small acts of kindness ripple outward. It would make sense that empathy and compassion are not merely social tools, but reflections of a deeper reality where the boundary between you and I is softer than it looks. There are also practical, everyday effects. If you regularly rest in the watcher, the silent awareness, you may find some fear loses heat. Worries that once felt urgent can be seen as passing weather. Decisions may be clearer because you see patterns without being swept into them. Dreams may also feel different. Instead of being dragged through confusing scenes, you may meet the dream with the calm steadiness of awareness and ask quietly what it has to show. Let me tell you a small, gentle story. A man named Jonah kept waking from intense dreams, feeling pushed and small. He began a simple practice. Each morning, before the world woke him fully, he would sit and notice the feeling of being there. No mantra, no stretching, just a minute of soft attention. Over months, the repeated practice taught him something. The sharpness of the dreams dulled when met with the quiet presence. He still dreamed, but he felt less tossed. It was as if a small lamp had been placed inside his dream theatre, enough to see the set without being overwhelmed by the actors. For Jonah, the practice was not spiritual performance, but a practical way to live with more ease. As we move toward the close of this chapter, notice again the simple invitation. Look for the watcher. You do not need to prove grand theories tonight. You can do a small test. For a few moments each day, bring attention to the presence that notices. Let that presence be a soft friend. See what changes in your mood, your sleep, and the stories you tell yourself. Keep the inquiry kind. Whether you end up thinking consciousness comes from the brain or that the brain is shaped by consciousness, the simple act of noticing opens subtle doors. In the next chapter, we will explore how learning from dreams can reshape life. We will ask, gently, what dreams teach about waking choices and how inner work can change the outer world. For now, rest in the awareness that notices. Let that be your companion as you drift toward the place between waking and dreaming. Chapter 8. Waking Up. What dreams teach us about reality itself. Breathe in gently, and as you breathe out, let the pace of your thoughts soften. Imagine the breath as a slow tide washing over a shore. We have traveled through quiet rooms of science, symbolism, and awareness. Now we come to a calm clearing where dreams and waking life meet. This chapter will be about how what we learn in the night can shape the day. It will show simple, practical ways to take dream wisdom into your daily life, and it will offer a gentle view of what real might mean when both waking and dreaming are part of the same wide mind. Dreams are not only private plays, they are teachers. Sometimes they place a small lamp in a corner of your life and ask you to look. That lamp may show a fear you've been ignoring, a longed-for path you have not had courage to take, or a quiet truth about how you relate to others. The way you meet that lamp, with curiosity, with kindness, with small steps, determines whether the dream remains a passing image or becomes a living guide. One of the clearest lessons dreams teach is attention. In the rush of modern days, many things go unnoticed. The small hurt behind a repeated irritation, the soft joy that arrives when you cook for someone, the pattern that keeps you turning away from a person you love. Dreams often shine a spotlight on those overlooked places. If you practice tuning in each morning and asking, "What did my dream show me?" you train your attention. The practice is simple. Sit for a few minutes, breathe, and let the remembered images come. Ask not for one clear answer, but for the feeling the dream carried. What emotion was strongest? Fear, longing, relief, curiosity? That feeling is a clue. Another lesson is integration. Night images can pull loose threads of your life together. A dream that mixes old memory with a new face may be helping you link past and present so you can act differently now. Integration means making small changes based on what you see. If a dream points to a relationship that feels closed, try a gentle step in the day. Send a short note, make a calm phone call, or set a small boundary. Integration is practical and slow. It is not about grand gestures, but about tiny experiments that test whether the dream's message holds in real life. Dreams also teach emotional processing. We already touched on how dreams can be a rehearsal space for difficult feelings. The same rehearsal can help you release emotional charge in waking life. Suppose you dreamed a scene of being chased and you woke tense. Instead of pushing the feeling away, you might breathe into it. Name it quietly, fear, and let it pass. You can journal about when in waking life you last felt chased or pressed. Sometimes naming and feeling changes the body's response. Over time, patterns soften. This is not magic. It is a slow and kind training of your nervous system. Creativity is another domain where dreams teach well. Artists, writers, and makers often keep a dream notebook because the dream mind makes unusual connections. You can borrow that habit. Keep a small journal by the bed and write a phrase, an image, or a sentence before sleep. Tonight, let my mind show me a small idea about X. In the morning, if you wake with an image, treat it like a seed. Play with it gently. Sketch, write a paragraph, sing a line. Even if nothing becomes a masterpiece, you have practiced a habit that opens a space where new ideas can arrive. Dreams can teach relational truth. They often show roles we play that we do not see clearly in daylight. For example, if you keep dreaming that you are always the rescuer of someone, it may suggest you carry that role in relationships, stepping in when others could act for themselves. The dream asks, what would happen if you stepped back a little? Try it in a small way. Let someone else take responsibility for a minor task. Notice how it feels. The dream does not order you. It offers information about patterns you can test in life. There is also a moral dimension. If dreams soften the sense of separateness we feel, they may encourage compassion. When you pay attention to your dreams and notice recurring themes of pain or loneliness, you may naturally widen your sympathy toward others. The practice of listening to your night images can be a training in seeing suffering without immediately fixing it, simply being present. That presence is a real gift to anyone who receives it. A calm exercise to try now, over the next week. Each morning, write one dream line and one small action you can take that day. Keep the action tiny. Make tea for someone. Speak a short truth. Turn off your phone for 1 hour. Notice what changes. These small acts create a conversation between sleeping and waking life, and that conversation, over time, can shift habits. Dreams can also help with decision-making. They often reveal preferences you cannot state clearly. When you face a choice, ask your mind gently, if I follow path A, how do I feel? Notice the images that arise, even if they do not give a neat yes or no. Often a dream shows the emotional tone of a direction more clearly than a checklist of pros and cons. Use that tone as one piece of information among many. Combine dream insight with practical details, timeline, finances, relationships, and you will have a rounded view. Healing trauma through dreams is possible, but delicate. Nightmares that repeat after a painful event are not mere annoyances. They are messages that some part of you needs care. If your dreams are overwhelming, seek support from a therapist who understands trauma and sleep. There are techniques, including gentle forms of dream rehearsal and lucid practices, that can help. Healing is rarely quick. It is a sequence of small, safe steps. Dreams can be allies in that process, but it is wise to ask for guidance when the material is heavy. We must also speak plainly about boundary and safety. Not all dream guidance should be acted on immediately. Dreams can be vivid and persuasive without being true in a literal sense. If a dream urges a major life change, to quit a job, move country, or end a relationship, pause and bring in more information. Talk with trusted friends, check facts, and make small experiments before large moves. Dreams are wise in their way, but they are not the sole authority. A small story to carry with you. There was a teacher named Mira who dreamed of a ladder leaning against a night sky. For months, the ladder appeared in different places. She felt a pull toward learning, a soft call to study something she had always loved but never pursued. She did not quit her life to chase the dream. Instead, she enrolled in a weekend class and read 1 chapter a week. The ladder in her dreams slowly came down until one night she found herself standing on a low rung, looking at a small, bright patch of sky. The image was not a destination, but an invitation to steady steps. Mira's life did not transform overnight, but over months, the slow work of following a small calling made her days feel more aligned with what mattered. Dreams can also change how we view real. If both waking and dreaming are mind-made to a degree, reality becomes a wider category. Real may not mean permanent, but it can still be meaningful, kind, and full. You can treat your waking relationships as real in their effect and value, even as you see the dreamlike way perception works. This double vision, seeing both the constructed nature of experience and its deep value, can free you from small fears and increase your care for life. There are practical tools that help bridge dream insight to action. Besides journaling, you can try evening intention setting. Before sleep, place a small, calm question in your mind like, "Show me one small step I can take about X." Keep the asking soft. In the morning, write whatever appears. Over weeks, this practice creates a slow dialogue with your inner mind. Another tool is the weekday test. Take a small idea from a dream and test it on one weekday. A conversation, a new recipe, a tiny apology. Notice the result and record it. These tests keep dream work grounded. Finally, we should remember the value of compassion. Dreams often reveal what wounds touch our lives. Meeting those images without harshness changes everything. When a dream shows a harsh self-image, respond in the day with one small kindness to yourself. Do not demand sudden perfection. Small, consistent acts of care, rest, gentle movement, nourishing food, a real conversation, are the practice that makes dream insight become steady change. As we close this chapter, I want to hold a soft promise with you. The work of connecting dreams to waking life is neither magical nor mechanical. It is quiet, patient, and practical. It asks for attention, small experiments, and kindness. Over time, the bridge between night and day grows stronger, and you may notice subtle shifts. A lighter step, a clearer choice, a softer heart. Later in this series, we will explore how dreams can be shared, how they connect across people and cultures, and how big ideas like simulation theory and quantum questions sit alongside the quiet teachings of the night. If you are curious about those rooms, stay with me. Each one opens like a slow door. When you are ready, breathe in once more and breathe out slowly. Let these ideas sink in like seeds. Rest with the thought that your nights are not empty. They are full of small teachers waiting to be met with kindness. Chapter 9. Shared and Collective Dreams. Breathe in slowly, and as you breathe out, let the room around you feel quieter. Imagine a wide, low fire in a circle of people on a cool night. Each person leans in with a blanket, and one by one they tell what the night carried them. Some tell ordinary dreams, some tell images that echo one another. There is a pleasant hush as the stories ripple. In this chapter, we will sit with the idea that dreams do not always belong to only one person. We will explore how dreams can be shared, how groups have worked with dreams across cultures, and what calm, practical explanations and gentle mysteries might live here. We will move slowly, giving space to both wonder and reason. Shared dreams can mean different things. Sometimes it means two or more people report similar images or scenes around the same time. Sometimes an entire culture reports common dream themes, certain archetypes that appear in myths and rituals. Sometimes in close relationships, partners can notice the same image recurring in separate dream reports. These experiences feel intimate and often meaningful. They invite questions. Are people simply picking from the same cultural picture book, or might minds somehow touch each other in sleep? Start with the everyday and simple. People who live together share much in common. The same house, the same smells, similar conversations, the same TV shows. Those shared inputs make it likely that dreams will sometimes mirror each other. If an entire family watches an old film about a lighthouse, members may later dream of a lighthouse. Shared environment, shared stories, shared stressors. These are the ordinary reasons dreams line up. There is a calm beauty to this. Dreaming is part of the communal life, as much as cooking and laughter. Sometimes the simplest explanation is also the warmest. Groups with strong shared symbols, close-knit communities, religious orders, or cultural tribes often have common dream themes. These images are not mysterious so much as cultural. They live in songs, rituals, and stories, and then reappear in sleep. The elders teach the symbols, the children hear them, the town sings them, and dreams borrow the same colors. This is one reason why a people's myths and their dream pictures can look so similar. The phenomenon shows how our minds are porous to the cultural soup we swim in, and how dreams are conversations with the stories we live. There are also cases where people report remarkably similar dreams without an obvious shared source. Two friends separated by distance might describe the same unusual detail on the same night. Small groups, soldiers, sailors, or workers on a shared task, sometimes report a dream motif spreading through the group. These accounts, where contact or media does not explain the similarity, are the ones that invite a little more curiosity. They are also the cases that are hardest to confirm scientifically because memory is fragile and stories change as they are retold. The wise approach is to listen with care and gentle skepticism. The story may be true, and it may also have ordinary causes. Either way, the telling of the story is important. The shared telling itself creates social bonds. Anthropologists and historians have given us tender images of cultures that intentionally use dreams as group practice. In many indigenous cultures, people would gather and share dreams with elders who guided interpretation. Some groups held dream circles where the community looked for meaning together. Those gatherings were not mere gossip. They were civic rituals. They helped the group decide where to hunt, how to approach a newcomer, or whether the time felt right for a festival. The dream was not private, but part of communal wisdom. This practice reminds us that dream sharing can be a form of collective listening, a social art that fosters trust and shared direction. There are modern examples of deliberate collective dreaming too. In recent years, people have tried experiments where groups set a shared intention before sleep. We will dream of a white tree, or tonight we will meet in a common place. Some participants report images that feel strikingly similar. These experiments are small and not conclusive, but they are interesting in how they change the people involved. Setting a shared intention creates a social frame. People talk about the experiment, their expectations shift, and memory focuses on the chosen image. The social power of intention is strong and deserves respect. When a group agrees to look for something, it often finds it. If you are drawn to experience shared dreaming in a gentle, safe way, here are some compassionate steps to try with friends or a small group. Create a quiet container. Agree on a small group of people you trust. Keep the circle limited and respectful. Name some basic rules: confidentiality, no coercion, and gentle listening without argument. Set a simple neutral intention. Before sleep, agree on something soft, not a demand, but an invitation. Examples: tonight, let us notice a calm place, or tonight we will dream of water. Keep the image harmless and soothing. Keep a private journal and a shared notes page. Each person writes what they remember on waking. Then the group meets later to share. The private journal keeps memory honest. The shared page helps collect the patterns. Discuss context and biases. Before interpreting, gently acknowledge how shared media, conversations, or stress might shape results. This grounds the practice in reality and keeps wonder healthy. Practice gratitude and curiosity. When you share, focus on what the dream felt like more than forcing a one-line meaning. Ask gentle questions. What did the water feel like? Or, where did the light come from? Avoid saying, this means X. Let meanings unfold slowly. Ethics matter. Do not use shared dreaming to manipulate others or to pressure someone to follow a plan. Shared dreaming should strengthen care and help people notice themselves and each other with tenderness. Now we must name the fringe and the rare. Stories claiming telepathic exchange or psychic linking. Some people have long told stories of dreams that carried messages across distance. A grandparent who dreams of a grandchild in danger, and then the news arrives. These stories pierce the heart and are hard to explain. Science has not validated a simple mechanism for telepathic dream transfer. That does not mean people do not experience them. It means we must hold them gently and finally rely on careful, compassionate evaluation. If a dream feels like a warning, the practical step is not blind faith but a calm check. Call the person, ask a question, look for reasonable indicators. Taking sensible action keeps you grounded and caring. When groups report mass dreams during times of crisis, for instance, a community dreaming the same fearful image during war or a pandemic, the phenomenon often reflects shared anxiety. When everyone hears the same news, sleeps under the same stress, and talks late into the night, similar dream content naturally follows. The dreams are mirrors of collective feeling. They can be powerful barometers, signals that many people are carrying the same weight. In those moments, dream sharing can become a form of communal therapy. Naming the images helps release tension and build support. A quiet story to hold here. In a coastal village, for many nights, several fishermen dreamed of a silent, pale light on the horizon. The dreams felt urgent, and the village elders called a meeting. Instead of panic, the elders asked for calm. They shared the dreams, listened, and then sent a small group to check the shore at dawn. What they found was not cosmic but practical. A faint foghorn on a distant buoy that had been mistaken for light. A small sign that machinery needed fixing. The dreams had surfaced shared attention to something small but important. Whether the dreams were directly caused by the horn or whether the communal concern amplified memory is not the point. The point is how the community used dreams to act with care. Finally, let us remember verification and humility. If you or your group notice similar dreams, keep records. Note dates, times, and context. Look for ordinary explanations first. Shared media, overlapping experiences, cultural symbols. Treat extraordinary claims with gentle curiosity and honest checks. Most importantly, use the experience to deepen connection rather than to prove an idea. Shared dreaming can be a way to weave social trust. As we draw this chapter to a close, feel the circle around the fire again. The glow warms faces, and stories pass from one person to another. Whether dreams are shared because of common life, social suggestion, or something more mysterious, the act of sharing itself creates kindness. The practice of listening to one another's night images builds community and helps us care for patterns we might otherwise miss. When you are ready, breathe in and out slowly. hold the soft idea that dreams can be both private teachers and threads that link us. In our next chapter, we will move into a modern room of wonder and skepticism. Simulation theory, the idea that reality itself might be a grand dreaming program. We will walk through the simple analogies, the strengths and limits of the idea, and the calm questions it invites. Chapter 10. Simulation theory. Is reality the grand dream? Breathe in slowly and let the mind open like a door with soft hinges. Tonight we sit with a curious idea that feels both new and ancient. The thought that the world we call real might be, in some sense, a kind of simulation, a crafted running program, or a dream on a very large scale. This idea can sound like a science fiction tale, but it also echoes old images, the world as an illusion, a play, or a painting. In this chapter, we will walk gently through the idea, look at simple reasons people find it attractive, touch on objections, and then come back to the bedside wisdom of how this idea might change, or not change, the way we live. Imagine for a moment a very common scene. You wake from a dream, and for a moment the dream feels real. The mind fills in detail, reason slows, and you are swept along. Slowly, as you notice the light and the weight of your body, the dream fades and the day returns. Now fold that small experience back on itself. What if waking life is like that dream, vivid and convincing, but still made of rules and patterns that could be arranged by something beyond? It is a small thought experiment that asks us to look twice at our certainty. There are a few simple reasons this idea intrigues people. One is technology. As computers and virtual worlds grow more lifelike, it becomes easier to picture a detailed simulated world that feels real to those inside it. If in a few generations we can build convincing simulations, then some think it is possible more advanced beings might have already done so. Another reason is philosophy. If what appears to us depends on rules and information, then perhaps those rules could be chosen or designed. The simulation thought makes us question what counts as basic reality. Is it the bricks of the world, or the code that makes the bricks look like bricks? If you listen closely, you'll hear two main versions of the simulation idea. One is playful and small. Our culture points out that many things feel like simulations, social roles, rules of money, unreal online spaces. The other is larger and more literal. Perhaps everything we experience is generated by an intelligence or system. The second view raises big questions. Who created it? Why would they create it? And how would we know? There are simple objections that deserve calm attention. First, the idea can be hard to test. If our senses are themselves part of the simulation, then any experiment we run might also be simulated. This makes the idea slippery. Second, the simulation hypothesis can feel like a kind of escape. If life is not real, some people might use that thought to avoid responsibility. Yet, responsibility still matters in either case. Whether or not the world is coded, our actions cause effects for the beings inside the world. Ethics remains helpful and urgent. Another gentle objection is complexity. Building a full, detailed simulation of a world at the level of every grain of sand would be an enormous task. Some thinkers say a simulation could be more efficient, only rendering fine detail where it matters, like how a video game only draws the scene you are looking at. But that still leaves the challenge of who would design such a system and why. Many people find that explanation more mystifying than comforting. If we set aside who might run a simulation and focus on the idea as an image, it can be useful. The simulation comparison helps us see how our experience depends on systems, language, culture, economic rules, and our own nervous systems. Seeing the constructed side of reality can free us from rigidity. If much of what we accept as fixed is actually an agreed-upon pattern, then small changes in habits, rules, and attention can change how life feels. That is practical and kind. There are also interesting ethical questions wrapped inside the simulation thought. If a higher intelligence could create conscious beings, what obligations would the creator have? This thought quickly moves from fantasy to a sober moral landscape. If suffering in a simulation feels real to the sufferer, then suffering must be taken as real by those who care. Likewise, if we imagine ourselves as creators in small ways, parents, teachers, leaders, we carry responsibility for the worlds we shape. Now a small story to hold. Once there was a potter who made bowls by hand. A traveller came and asked whether the bowl's beauty was in the clay or the maker's skill. The potter smiled and said both. The bowl's usefulness depends on its shape, and its beauty depends on the maker's touch. If you think of simulation theory like this, it becomes a gentle parable. Whether the world is clay, code, or both, our attention to the bowl and how we use it matters. The metaphor keeps us practical rather than lost in puzzles. What about meaning? Some fear that if life is a simulation, meaning disappears. Yet meaning is not only a property of the outer world, it is woven out of relationships, attention, and intention. A warm meal, a kind word, a child's laughter. These are meaningful whether the substrate of reality is clay or code. If anything, recognizing the constructed nature of many things can make meaning more precious. It asks us to care for what we can change and to hold mystery with humility. There are also ways to use the simulation idea that deepen everyday life. If you treat social systems as designed, you can play with them. You can see rules as adjustable and work to build kinder structures. You can notice the scripts you follow, the small ways you perform identity, and ask whether they serve you. This gentle experimentation is practical. Change habits that cause harm, build rituals that bring comfort, and design small practices that make your day kinder. For those who feel uneasy, a simple practice can help. Return to direct experience. Touch a warm cup. Notice breath. Speak to a friend. These simple acts anchor you in the felt presence that is immediate and kind. Whether the world is a dream, a simulation, or a plain physical place, the felt body and the shared human connection are immediate teachers. They keep you grounded. Before we leave this chapter, a small invitation for you as a listener. If your mind is drawn to the big question, are we in a simulation? Let it be a gentle curiosity. Use it to ask small, practical questions. What scripts do I follow? What rules shape my day? How can I tweak tiny things to make life kinder? These small acts matter more, in the long run, than solving metaphysical puzzles at once. We will come back to related ideas in later chapters, where we will weave simulation thoughts with quantum questions, shared dreams, and non-dual teachings. Each chapter will add a small light to the map. For now, rest with the balanced thought that whether the universe is programmed or not, your choices and kindness are real in their consequences. When you are ready, breathe once more, slowly, and let this idea settle like a quiet stone in your palm. The next chapter will take us into the curious mirror between dream logic and the strange findings of modern physics, a calm, careful room where observation and wonder meet. Chapter 11. Quantum dreams and conscious observation. Breathe in slowly and let your attention fold inward like a soft blanket. Tonight we sit near a small, strange corner of modern thought where the very small, atoms, particles, light, behaves in ways that quietly puzzle even the wisest people. This corner is called quantum physics. It sounds big and technical, but tonight we will keep it simple, gentle, and close to the way it touches our question. How does observation, the act of noticing, relate to reality? And how might that mirror the way dreams appear and change? Begin with a simple image. Imagine a tiny wave moving across a pond, and imagine that this wave could be many waves at once, each with a different path. In quantum ideas, tiny things like electrons often behave like waves of possibility. They do not sit in one small place like a pebble. They spread out like a mist of options. The most honest way to say it is that before we measure or check, there are many possible ways reality could be. The mathematical way scientists describe this is called a wave function, a kind of list of possibilities. But you can think of it simply as a cloud of might-be's. Now imagine you gently lift a single leaf to see where the wave goes. When we look, or when a measuring device interacts with the tiny system, one of the possibilities is chosen, and the mist tightens down into a single event. This choosing moment is often called collapse. In everyday words, something that was many things at once becomes one thing as soon as we check. A classic, simple experiment that shows this is the idea of a particle passing through two slits. If you do not watch which slit it goes through, the pattern on the screen looks like many waves overlapping. If you do watch, the pattern becomes the pattern of small, single particles. The very act of looking changes how the tiny things behave. Here, gently, is where the mystery deepens and the quiet comparisons to dreams begin. In a dream, your mind can hold many storylines at once. A dream could have you standing at two doors, each leading to a different life. While you do not choose, both doors may appear possible. When you notice, when you become aware or decide to open one, the dream settles into one scene. The parallel is not a proof, it is an image. Both in quantum thought and in our sleeping theatre, the act of noticing seems to be linked to the selection of one path from many. Scientists and philosophers disagree about what causes the collapse in the tiny world. Some say physical interaction alone, any contact with the environment, makes possibilities narrow down. This idea is called decoherence. Picture a tiny wave that meets a gust of wind. The wind scatters it, and the many possibilities fade into a practical single outcome. In the same way, when a particle interacts with air, light, or a detector, the many possible paths become one observed event. This view does not need a conscious witness. The world settles because systems touch and disturb each other. Others, however, found the role of the observer puzzling and invited deeper questions. They asked, is human awareness special in this process? Does the act of conscious measurement play a role different from any other interaction? The idea is tempting and poetic. If our act of looking helps shape reality at the smallest scale, what might that say about the larger world we live in? The honest answer is, the science is complex, and the question is still open in many ways. Some scientists think consciousness is not needed to explain collapse. Others think the debate points to a deeper mystery we have not yet fully understood. To make the options simple, one view says the universe is constantly picking outcomes as parts interact, no conscious mind required. Another view keeps a space for the observer as a special ingredient in the recipe. A third view suggests that every possible outcome actually happens, each in a separate branch of reality. In this telling, called the many worlds idea, a different branch contains each choice. Imagine many doors opening simultaneously, and each doorway leads to a world where one choice was taken. This can feel dizzying, but the point here is gentle curiosity, not a rush to choose sides. There are more subtle experiments like delayed choice setups that make the timing feel strange. In a delayed choice thought experiment, the decision about whether to measure something is made after the particle has already passed a certain point. The results seem to show that later choices can affect earlier behavior, which challenges our usual sense of time. Again, this raises questions about how tightly the act of observation and the very structure of events are linked. Some scientists read these experiments as a sign that nature is subtle and context-sensitive, not that minds rewrite the past. Others find them an open door to thinking differently about cause and effect. What does all this mean for our question about dreams and reality? First, it teaches us humility. The tiny world does not behave simply like billiard balls. At small scales, the lines between what happens and how we notice it grow thin. We learn that observation matters in ways that science still unravels. Second, it offers a poetic mirror. Both the dreamer and the scientific observer take part in the unfolding. In sleep, noticing can sharpen a dream. In the quantum world, measurement changes outcomes. These parallels do not prove that dreams control the universe, but they do invite the gentle thought that awareness is not a useless extra. It may be woven into how things show up. We must not rush from poetic parallel to overclaim. The temptation to say consciousness causes collapse, and therefore mind creates worlds is strong, but it runs against careful caution. Many good scientists resist tying collapse to human consciousness because there are simpler explanations that work in lab tests. The safest stance is to hold both. The role of observation is real and important in physics, and awareness plays a mysterious, subtle role in how we experience the world. Whether they are the same role is a deeper question. Another quantum feature that resonates with dreams is entanglement. When two particles become entangled, their fates remain linked even when they are far apart. Measure one, and you instantly know something about the other. This connection seems to bypass ordinary distance. It has led to famous phrases like spooky action at a distance. For dream lovers, the feeling is familiar. Sometimes a dream connects people, or a thought feels linked to another's life. Again, the physics and the personal stories are different kinds of things, but the idea of connection, that parts of a system share a subtle tie, offers a kind of metaphor for shared dreams and synchrony. Quantum ideas have inspired philosophers to wonder whether consciousness itself is some kind of fundamental feature of nature, that awareness is as basic as mass or charge. This thought is a bold step. If awareness is fundamental, then the universe is not purely physical. Experience is woven into its fabric. Some thinkers call this view panpsychism. It sounds strange at first, but put simply, it suggests that tiny things have tiny forms of experience, and complex minds are richer blends of those building blocks. It is an attempt to avoid the odd gap where matter seems to be all one thing and experience another. This view is not mainstream science, but it is discussed seriously by philosophers and some scientists as a possible way to make sense of mind and world together. For dreamers, what practical work can be done with these ideas? There are a few calm, helpful takeaways. First, pay attention to how noticing changes your experience. An easy practice. For a moment each day, look at a small object, a cup, a leaf, and notice how the simple act of careful observation changes your sense of it. This practice trains the noticing muscle and helps you see how your mind helps build the world you live in. Second, if you dream, try a gentle test. Set a small intention before sleep, not to control the dream, but to notice one small detail. In the morning, write what you remember. The practice is not proof of metaphysics, but it is a way to build a tender bridge between waking attention and the dream theatre. Third, use the humility of quantum mystery to loosen rigid stories. When physics shows us how strange the tiny scale can be, it becomes harder to cling to absolute answers about anything. That openness can free you from fear and dogma and make room for curiosity. Let uncertainty be a friend rather than an enemy. Finally, keep compassion at the center. Whether awareness is fundamental or an emergent property of brain tissue, the felt experiences of joy, pain, longing, and love are real to the one who feels them. The scientific puzzles are important and beautiful, but they should not eclipse the immediate duty of care we have for ourselves and others. A small, quiet story to hold. Imagine a scientist named Arya who once stayed up late reading about entanglement and collapse. The ideas twined in her mind like branches. That night, she dreamed of two small birds, each on different wires, yet singing the same note. She woke with a sense of connection. Instead of making grand claims, Arya carried that feeling into her day. She listened more carefully to a colleague, offered a phone call to a friend, and noticed how small acts of attention seemed to change the tone of the day. For her, the science did not produce metaphysical certainty. It produced a softer way of being with others. As we let this chapter settle, remember the gentle balance. Quantum ideas tell us that, at the smallest scales, the world behaves in ways that make the role of observation puzzling and important. Dreams show us that awareness can change how a scene unfolds. The two are not identical, but they hold a shared whisper. Noticing matters. Let that whisper invite you to look with kindness, to allow mystery without panic, and to use curiosity as a lamp that warms rather than scares. When you are ready, breathe in once more and breathe out slowly. Allow the stillness to gather like a small moon. The next chapter will carry us further into the old and quiet teachings, the paradox of awakening, where spiritual traditions ask whether waking and dreaming are different or the same, and what it means to wake up to the dream itself. Chapter 12. The Paradox of Awakening. Breathe in slowly, and as you breathe out, let your body settle into the place that holds you. In this chapter, we will sit with a gentle, old puzzle that spiritual teachers have passed from hand to hand. What does it mean to wake up? If you have already wondered whether waking life is a kind of dream, then the paradox of awakening is a close cousin. The teaching that waking up might not remove the world, but change how you stand in it. We will move slowly through simple ideas, warm stories, and practical steps you can try. Our aim is calm clarity, not spectacle. Begin with a small question you can try right now. Notice that you're reading these words. Notice the sound of your breath. Notice that even as thoughts move, planning, remembering, worrying, there is a steady sense of being present that watches them. That steady watcher is often what teachers mean by the one who wakes up. It is not a place you go as a removed reward. It is a kind of seeing that grows when attention is trained in a compassionate and steady way. The paradox shows up like this. Many paths say, wake up to reality. Yet what you wake into is not a blank world without feeling or story. Instead, waking up often reveals that the stories are, at root, stories, that feelings rise and fall, and that the sense of a fixed, separate I is thinner than it first seemed. The paradox is that waking up does not destroy meaning, it deepens it. The world is still there, full of colour and care, but you see it without getting pulled so tightly into the small dramas. In other words, awakening is not escaping the dream. It is seeing you a part of the dream without being swallowed by it. Across traditions, this truth is told in many ways. A Zen teacher might offer a short, clear phrase, "This mind is just like the sky. Clouds of thought pass, the sky remains." An Advaita teacher might say, "You are not the wave, you are the whole ocean." Sufi poets speak of falling into the beloved and finding a strange freedom. In each case, the image is the same. The heart of awakening is recognition more than change. You recognize the ground you always were, even if the weather on the surface keeps moving. One practical door into this recognition is simple attention practice. It is not fancy. It is sit, watch breath. Notice thought like weather. When a thought arises, label it kindly, thinking, and return to the breath. You do not need to stop thoughts, only to meet them without running. Over time, this practice weakens the habit of believing every passing thought as true. You begin to see stories as stories. That little space between thought and reaction grows, and in that space, choice arises. Another entry is inquiry. Ask a small, steady question. Who is aware of this thought? Say the question softly, not as an exam, but as a gentle turning inward. After a few moments of this kind of listening, many people find a subtle quiet that is not a lack, but a presence. That presence is not separate from life. It is simply less taken by small dramas. The practice of inquiry is like lifting a corner of the rug to see what the floor is like. You are curious. You are not trying to destroy anything. Stories help us see the shape of the paradox. There is a classic tale of a monk who walked with his teacher through a bamboo grove. The teacher stopped, plucked a leaf and asked, "What is this?" The monk named it a leaf. The teacher shook his head and asked, "What sees the leaf?" The monk thought and then bowed. That short exchange points to the difference between naming the world and recognizing the one who names. The paradox of awakening lives in that hinge between naming and seeing. Awakening is sometimes described as the soft collapse of urgency. When you feel alive and awake inside your day, small things stop having to be bigger than they are. A rude word from someone no longer collapses your center. A loss still hurts, but you discover a steadier heart that can hold pain and tender joy at once. Paradoxically, deep care increases. When you see life as neither permanently solid nor a meaningless blur, you may care more deeply, because each moment becomes precious and fragile. There are also warnings we must speak plainly about. Spiritual awakening can be used as a cover for avoidance. Some people speak of being beyond anger while ignoring real harm. This is called spiritual bypassing. Genuine awakening does not excuse unkind behavior. It instead brings clearer sight about harm and a stronger, calmer energy to do what is needed. If you notice yourself using spiritual ideas as a shield from responsibility, it is wise to return to humility and to practical action. Apologize, mend, be present. Another pitfall is impatience. Many who seek awakening want instant change. The paradox is patient. Recognition often takes time and practice. Tiny, steady habits. 5 minutes of practice a day, one honest conversation, one small act of care, stack into real change. The path is not a race. It is a soft, daily showing up. Awakening can also change how you approach dreams. If you meet a dream from the recognizing heart, the dream's power to upset you may lessen. In a lucid dream, the awakened mind can be present and curious, turning a nightmare into a place to inquire, what is this fear asking for? The inner light of awake attention can transform frightening scenes into opportunities for compassion and learning. A quiet, modern story. There was a woman named Noor who for years chased a sense of being fixed and successful. She achieved many things, and still something felt missing. After she began a gentle sitting practice, she noticed small shifts. Her achievements did not disappear, but their grip on her did. She found joy in small things. The taste of morning tea, the curve of a friend's smile. She did not become distant from life. She became more present with it. The paradox. The more she woke, the more deeply she loved the ordinary, became her real reward. Practical exercises to try over the next week. Begin with 1 minute each morning. Sit comfortably, breathe and name one thing you notice. A sound, a body sensation, a feeling. Do this without judgment. At night before sleep, review one dream image and ask gently, what is this nudging me to notice about my life? Keep answers small. If the dream hints at a boundary that needs firming, choose a tiny step to practice the next day. Small tests are kind and effective. If awakening sounds like a big spiritual achievement, remember it is often small and gentle. It looks like steadiness in a storm, like answering a call with calm instead of rage, like taking one breath before speaking. The paradox is that even small openings shift how the whole day is felt. Let us end with a simple metaphor. Imagine you are carrying a lantern through a fog. Awakening is not removing the fog. It is holding the lantern kindly, so its light reveals the path ahead. You still walk the path, you still meet obstacles, but you do so with steadier sight and more gentle steps. The lamp does not solve every problem, but it changes how you meet them. As this chapter closes, hold both the mystery and the simplicity. Waking up is not about leaving life. It is about being with life more honestly and tenderly. The paradox holds both loss and gain, both quiet emptiness and deep love. When you are ready, breathe in deeply, and as you breathe out, let the quiet settle like a hush over the world. We will move next into a chapter about the dream as mirror of the soul, how dreams help healing and self-discovery. And we will continue to keep things slow, kind, and clear. Chapter 13. Dreams as a mirror of the soul. Breathe in slowly and let your body soften like warm wax. Settle into the quiet place inside you where images arrive at night. Tonight we will stand before a calm mirror, the kind that does not only show your face but the quiet attic of your heart. Dreams can act like that mirror. They can show what we are hiding, what we long for, and what we need to heal. In this chapter, we will look gently at how dreams support emotional healing and personal change, the small tools you can use to listen to them, and the kind, practical steps that let inner messages become real, helpful shifts in your waking life. Imagine a long hallway full of doors. Each door leads to a different part of your life. Relationships, worry, joy, old hurts, and dreams not yet lived. Sleep is the time when the house opens and a soft wind moves through the doors. What was boxed and quiet during the day becomes bright enough to notice. Dreams bring images that point toward the doors, asking to be opened. Sometimes those images are clear and warm. Sometimes they are strange and frightening. Both kinds carry information. The gentle work is learning to receive that information without judgment. Dreams often carry feelings richer than the short labels we use in daylight. A nighttime image may carry the scent of a childhood kitchen, the heavy body memory of a fall, or the exact tone of someone's voice that we miss. Those images can wake unresolved feelings, grief, guilt, longing, that the waking mind has set aside. Dream work is the practice of listening to those feelings and allowing them to be named, held, and sometimes changed. The result is rarely dramatic overnight. It is small easing, like a knot unwinding slowly with careful fingers. Let us look at some useful, gentle tools for doing this work. Each tool is simple. Use what suits you. Try them slowly and always with kindness. Keep a dream journal. This is the first, most steady practice. Keep a small notebook by the bed. When you wake, stay still for a moment and let the dream return. Write down words, images, feelings, and even fragments of speech. Don't worry about neatness. Over weeks, patterns begin to appear. You may notice recurring places, themes, or emotions. Those repeats are soft signals telling you where attention will be most useful. Listen for the feeling tones. When you read your dream notes, underline the feelings you felt: scared, light, hollow, curious. Often the feeling is the clearest hint. Ask yourself where in waking life that feeling shows up. Maybe the dream's sense of being lost is linked to a job where you feel unseen. The question is simple. Where else do I feel this way? Mapping the feeling to real life creates a path for change. Try gentle, active imagination. This method is very small and safe. Lie down or sit comfortably, close your eyes, and bring the dream image back in your mind. Rather than watching it like a movie, imagine stepping into the scene and asking a question like, "Why are you here?" or "What do you need?" Let what answers come be soft and symbolic. You are not forcing, you are listening. Often a sense, a small image, or even a single word is the reply. Record it in your journal. Over time, these conversations can shift how the dream feels when it reappears. Practice dream re-entry for recurring nightmares. If a dream that scares you returns, you can use a calm re-entry. During the day, imagine the nightmare scene, but change one small thing. Add a door, make the light warm, or invite a friendly figure. Rehearse that change gently. Some people then use lucid techniques at night to bring the change into the dream. The idea is not to force control, but to offer a new option. Over time, the nightmare's intensity can soften because your mind has practiced a safer script. Use incubation for practical guidance. If you have a small question, should I say yes to this project? Spend a minute before sleep with a quiet phrase. Tonight, show me a small sign about X. Keep the request kind and specific. In the morning, check your dream notes for images related to the question. The image may not give a clear yes or no, but it will often show an emotional orientation. Lightness, heaviness, warmth, or cold. Use that tone as one more piece of information alongside facts and counsel. Invite imagery for healing. If you carry a wound, imagine the scene changing into something that heals. For example, if you dream of being stuck in mud, picture a hand reaching down to lift you. or sunlight warming the mud into soft earth that supports your feet. This is not magic. It is an internal rehearsal that trains your nervous system to feel supported. Over time, both night and day respond to the new imagery. Work with small rituals. After you record a dream, you might light a candle, pour a cup of tea, or walk for a few minutes with the dream image in mind. These small rituals tell your inner life you are listening and that this matter is worthy of care. Rituals anchor the inner work in the outer day and help integration happen more steadily. Seek safe guidance when needed. Some dreams bring up deep trauma or intense material that feels too heavy to handle alone. If a dream repeatedly drains you, keeps you from sleep, or brings strong panic, consider reaching out to a therapist who understands dreams and trauma. Healing often needs a supportive hand. There is no shame in asking for help. It is an act of care. Now, a few stories to hold, quiet and human. There was a man named Elias who kept dreaming of locked suitcases scattered across a dark field. At first, the image frightened him. He felt he should find the keys. Over months of journaling and small reflection, he realized each suitcase symbolized a relationship he had not finished. An old friendship, an unresolved apology, a regret about leaving home. He did not rush to fix everything. He wrote one letter, then another, made small calls, and in time, the dreams shifted. The suitcases remained, but with open lids and soft light inside. The change was not dramatic. It was relief, small and deep. Another story. A young woman named Priya had a dream of a cracked mirror that always showed faces slightly warped. She began a practice of standing before a small mirror each morning and naming one kind thing about herself aloud. The practice felt awkward at first, but slowly the evening mirror changed in her dreams. The cracks healed, and the faces looked kinder. The dream had been teaching self-compassion in a roundabout way. The simple morning exercise rewired the way she met herself. There are ethical and practical notes we should speak plainly about. Do not use dream work to avoid real conversations. A dream suggesting a certain response is not a substitute for honest talk with the people involved. If a dream points to relationship issues, use it as a prompt to act with care, not as a reason to blame. Keep the boundary between inner imagery and outer reality clear. One guides, the other is concrete and requires responsibility. Also guard against over-interpreting. A dream is not always a coded instruction. Sometimes a dream is a replay of old input or a spill of daily stress. Learn the difference by watching patterns over time. If a theme persists and resonates emotionally, it merits attention. If an image appears once and leaves no trace, enjoy it as one quiet night's story. Dream work can be woven into therapy in helpful ways. Therapists trained in dream work use dreams as windows into themes that might be harder to speak about directly. In therapy, a dream is not proof but a data point. Together with a therapist, a person can test whether the dream's messages fit with life and whether acting on them brings helpful change. Integration is the goal, not mystical certainty. Let us leave with a small, doable plan you can use starting tonight. Before sleep, take 1 minute and say softly, "Tonight I will welcome one image that wants my notice." In the morning, write whatever you remember and underline the feeling. Pick one tiny action related to that feeling. A short apology, a 5-minute call, an extra hour of rest, and test it during the day. Record what changes. Repeat for a week. The practice is slow, kind, and it builds a conversation between your nights and your waking acts. As this chapter closes, Remember the spirit of tenderness. Dreams are mirrors, not judges. They show what is there with a mix of poetry and plainness. Meet those images with curiosity. Give small answers. Be patient. In time, the mirror will stop startling you and will become instead a steady companion on the path toward being more whole. Chapter 14. Beyond Dream and Waking. States of Consciousness. Breathe in slowly, and as you breathe out, let the edges of the room soften. Imagine you are lying on a long, gentle hillside watching the sky change from dusk to deep night. The colors shift without drama. The world is the same, but the way you see it changes with the light. In this chapter, we will explore the broad landscape of states of consciousness: dreaming, deep sleep, waking attention, meditation, altered states, and mystical experiences, and how reality subtly shifts as awareness moves from one place to another. This is not a list of strange ideas to be feared, but a calm map to help you recognize and use different states safely and kindly. Begin with a simple truth. Consciousness is not one single thing. It is a range, a spectrum. Some moments are bright and clear, like a sunlit field. Others are dim and wordless, like the hush of deep night. Dreams sit somewhere in the middle, vivid, image-filled, often emotional. Deep sleep is the quiet ground where images fall away. Waking life is the active field of planning, talking, moving, and relating. Meditation and other practices invite different qualities: steadiness, openness, clarity, or boundless awareness. Psychedelic experiences and certain ecstatic states can open doors that feel enormous and strange. Each state has its own texture and lessons. Think of these states like musical instruments in an orchestra. Each instrument plays a different sound, but together they form a symphony called life. The violin might be the dreamer's imagery, the cello, the deep sleep silence, and the flute, the bright clarity of waking attention. Listening to each part helps you hear the whole music more clearly. Dreaming we have met before. Vivid scenes, emotional color, strange logic. Deep sleep, by contrast, is often experienced as a gap, a restful unknowing where images fade and the body repairs itself. Many traditions point to deep sleep as a kind of healing ground. The nervous system rests, growth and repair happen, and the mind gets a break from constant storytelling. Practically, this is why good, uninterrupted sleep is one of the most reliable ways to feel more balanced and calm. Waking consciousness is the busy workshop, planning, choosing, relating. Its clarity is practical. You can drive, cook, and speak, but daytime mind can also be noisy, ruminating, and repetitive. That's why we borrow other states: meditation to steady the noise, guided attention to widen the field, and ritual to make daily life meaningful. Meditation is not mystical by necessity. At its heart, it is training attention. You practice coming back to one thing: the breath, a sound, or an embodied sensation. Over time, the practice changes what you notice. Where once you were lost in thought, now a small space opens between thought and reaction. Meditative states can be calm, bright, and aware. They can also be empty, spacious, and restful. Some people report a sense of deep peace. Others notice clearer thought and kinder speech. Meditation is a gentle technology for shifting how your mind works, and the benefits are practical. Better sleep, less reactivity, more focus, and deeper empathy. There are also deeper or more extreme states people enter. Some are cultivated. Long retreats, careful breath work, or intense focus can lead to altered experiences of time and self. Others arise unexpectedly. Grief, illness, or near-death experiences can shift the sense of what is real. People describe these states as dissolving the boundaries between self and world, as expanding into a vast presence, or as moving into an inner silence that feels like home. These experiences can be beautiful, confusing, and sometimes challenging to integrate. Psychedelics form another category. Substances that alter perception, certain plants, compounds, or medicines used in ceremonial or therapeutic settings can produce visions, deep emotional processing, and a felt sense of connection. Many people report that these experiences were life-changing, opening new perspectives on relationships, meaning, or fear. But there are strong cautions here. Set and setting matter enormously. A supportive context, clear intention, and careful mental health screening are crucial. Psychedelics are not casual tools. They can be therapeutic when used carefully, and they can be destabilizing when used without guidance. If someone is considering them, seeking trustworthy medical and therapeutic advice is a wise, compassionate step. Across all these states, a few patterns emerge that are useful and simple to remember. First, the quality of attention changes experience. Where attention is tight and fearful, the world can feel narrow and threatening. Where attention is open and kind, the world often feels larger and more helpful. Second, integration matters. Powerful or unusual experiences, a vivid dream, a deep meditation, a psychedelic session, are most helpful when the lessons are brought into daily life. That might mean small acts, a conversation with a friend, a change in sleep habits, or a new daily practice. Without integration, experiences can be fleeting fireworks that leave little change behind. Here are gentle, practical ways to explore states safely and productively. Practice short meditations daily. You do not need long sessions. Even 5 minutes of steady breathing and notice can accumulate into real change. Use grounding practices after intense experiences. If a dream or a meditation left you disoriented, do something small that connects you to the body. Drink water, feel your feet on the floor, eat a small piece of fruit, or take a slow walk. Grounding helps the nervous system settle. Journal after unusual nights or sessions. Write what happened, how it felt, and one small question you might test in the day. Over time, you will see patterns and learn how your inner life speaks. Create a safe container for exploration. If you plan to try extended practices or ceremony, do so with trusted guides, clear intention, and attention to mental health. Do not explore deep states alone if you have a history of severe trauma or certain psychiatric conditions. Safety and support are kindness to yourself. Use breathwork carefully. Controlled breathing can shift states strongly. Keep practices gentle at first. If a breath practice feels overwhelming, stop, breathe normally, and ground. A few calm stories to hold by the firelight. There was a woman named Seema who began with 5 minutes of breath awareness each morning. Over months, she noticed dreams becoming clearer. She started meeting a recurring nightmare with a small question learned in meditation. What needs kindness here? The dreaming shifted. The nightmares softened into images that asked for care rather than terror. Seema did not chase big revelations. She practiced steady attention and small kindness. The slow work changed her nights and days. Another story. A young man named Leo tried a week-long silent retreat. The quiet surprised him. Without the daily noise, he found subtle patterns of reactivity he had never noticed. He also felt a deep connectedness that felt more like a soft home than a dramatic peak. After the retreat, he created small, daily rituals, walking without his phone for 10 minutes, making tea with full attention, that helped him hold the retreat's calm in everyday life. Again, integration turned a rare state into steady benefit. There are also common errors to watch for. Avoid chasing peak experiences as if they are a destination. A single powerful session can be meaningful but does not replace daily kindness and steady care. Also, watch for using altered states to avoid necessary life work. Relationships, financial responsibility, and healthcare do not go away. Treat inner exploration as a companion to daily life, not a replacement. Now gently, consider how these states relate to the idea that waking and dreaming are layers of the same continuum. If states are layers, then skillful living becomes the art of moving between them with care. You might use dreaming to see hidden feelings, meditation to create steady presence, and waking attention to act kindly and responsibly. Viewed this way, each state does not deny the others. They support one another like parts of a healthy garden: soil, root, stem, leaf, and flower working together. A small, easy practice to begin weaving states together. Each evening before sleep, take 2 minutes to breathe and set one simple intention for your dreams. Nothing grand, simply a soft question or a request for one image that might help. In the morning, write down what you remember and choose one small action inspired by the image. Over weeks, you will be building a bridge between night and day, a gentle conversation that helps different states feed your waking life. As we close this chapter, carry away the steady thought that consciousness is wide and layered. There is no need to fear the changes in perception. They are part of the human map. What matters is how you travel, with attention, safety, and kind integration. The last word here is balance. Explore gently, ground faithfully, turn unusual experiences into everyday kindness. When you are ready, breathe in deep and breathe out slowly. Let the hillside sky fade into a soft night. The next chapter will ask the largest of the questions again, and then again. Who is the dreamer? We will approach that question with both simple curiosity and a steady heart. Chapter 15. The ultimate question. Who is the dreamer? Breathe in slowly and let your breath be a soft anchor. Imagine a clear pool at dawn, the surface still and bright. If you look into that pool, you will see reflections, trees, sky, your own face. Yet beneath the reflections there is only water, quietly holding everything. In this chapter, we come to the simplest, deepest question of all. Who or what is having all these dreams, thoughts, and experiences? Who is the one that notices? We will move slowly through different ways people have answered this question. Keep the words plain and gentle, and offer small practices you can use to meet the question yourself. Start with a small, safe experiment. Close your eyes for a moment and ask softly, who is aware of the breath? Do not try to make a clever answer. Just wait quietly. You may notice a steady sense of presence, a knowing that is not a thought, but the background in which thoughts happen. That quiet noticing is sometimes called the dreamer, the witness, or the self. It is the part of you that seems to be aware no matter what appears, a dream, a memory, or a passing feeling. Different traditions and thinkers have offered many ways to speak about this dreamer. Some say the dreamer is your brain, a wonderful organ that puts together perception and memory, and that gives the feeling of I. In this view, the sense of being someone is a useful trick the brain uses to organize life. It arises from many processes working together: the body's senses, the memory of the past, and plans for the future. The brain's map is so convincing that it feels like a single, unshakable self. Other voices say the dreamer is deeper than the brain, a simple awareness that is not made by anything. They notice that you can watch your thoughts and say, "That's a thought," as if the watcher is separate from the thought. They ask, if every thought can be watched, might there be a watching that is not itself a thought? This view is not a claim to specialness, but an invitation to look for a steady presence that does not change even while thoughts and feelings do. There is a middle way too. The idea that the dreamer is both a product of the brain and yet not only a product. Think of a radio playing music. The music depends on the radio's parts and signals, but the listening experience also has a quality that is different from the metal and plastic. In this metaphor, the brain shapes how awareness looks, but awareness is a real feature that cannot be replaced by parts alone. People who hold this view often say that looking at both sides, the brain and the awareness, is the wisest path. Children ask this question naturally, without complicated language. A small child may say, "Who is inside me?" and mean it simply, "Who is playing here?" Watching how children notice their own seeing can be revealing. They sometimes pause in play to watch themselves play, a kind of effortless self-awareness adults label as curiosity or wonder. The child's ease points to a simple fact. The sense of being is normal and present from early life. Watching this quiet presence without judgment can be a gentle way to meet the question. There are also cultural stories that shape how we answer. In some cultures, the dreamer is a spirit or ancestor. In others, the dreamer is the body's life force. These stories are not tests to pass or fail. They are tools people use to live with mystery. The same person may shift between stories in different moments, speaking of the brain in a doctor's office and the soul in a quiet ceremony. Both stories can be true in their own ways. One helps with medicine, the other helps with meaning. One careful approach is to ask this question like a scientist and a poet at once. Test gently. Notice whether the sense of I changes when you are tired, joyful, or ill. Often the feeling shifts shape. That variability suggests the brain plays a role. Then notice whether there is a steady center that notices the shifts. If you find such a center, you also have evidence that something like simple awareness exists. The meeting of these two observations, changeable content and steady noticing, can be held without forcing one answer over the other. Another simple practice is the 2-minute witness. Sit comfortably and set a gentle timer for 2 minutes. For those 2 minutes, do not try to stop thoughts. Instead, let each thought come, and when it does, say softly in your mind, "Thinking." When a feeling appears, say "feeling." Each time, return to the gentle awareness that noticed the label. The aim is not to become clever, but to build a habit of noticing the difference between the content of experience and the one who notices. After a few days, this practice often reveals something quiet and steady that was always there. There are also big philosophical positions to consider, told in simple terms. Materialists say the dreamer arises from matter. The brain's structure and processes produce awareness. Idealists say that awareness is primary. Matter appears within mind. Panpsychists offer a middle path. Maybe tiny bits of mind exist everywhere, and complex minds form from simpler ones. None of these views have final proof that settles the matter for all people. Each is a map, and different maps help different travelers. The point here is not to choose a side dogmatically, but to keep the question alive and tender. Stories help make the question softer and closer to home. A story of an old gardener might help. The gardener spent decades tending a small plot of land. Each season he woke early, fed the soil, mended fences, and watched seeds become plants. One evening, he sat still and asked, "Who turns these hands?" He realized the question was not only about him, but about the simple love of tending. The dreamer, in his view, was not simply his name or his thoughts. It was the quiet, loving attention that had kept the garden alive through many years. He did not need a definite answer beyond that. For him, the dreamer was the steady care behind all action. The question of who the dreamer is can also change how you live. If you think the dreamer is just a small, separate self, you might tighten and protect that self. If you begin to sense a wider presence, a witness that notices everything, you may find fear softening and kindness expanding. Simple acts follow. You might choose gentler speech, pause before reacting, or feel less need to perform for approval. These small shifts matter more than philosophical certainty. There are also practical boundaries to respect. Some people find these inquiries destabilizing, especially if they have a history of dissociation or serious mental health issues. If this is true for you, approach slowly and with support. A therapist or a trusted guide can help create a safe space. The goal is not to break yourself open without care, but to meet mystery with steadiness. A few ways to bring this question into your life with safety and kindness. Begin a short nightly ritual of asking, "Who saw that dream?" and then write one line in a journal. Keep it simple. Notice whether your sense of self feels narrower or wider over weeks. Practice the 2-minute witness each morning. Share gently with a friend what you notice. Speaking softly about inner changes helps make them manageable. Let us end this chapter with a small, quiet meditation you can do now. Sit or lie comfortably. Close your eyes. Take 3 slow breaths. On the 4th breath, ask gently, "Who is here now?" Do not try to answer with words. Wait softly. Notice if there is a simple feeling of presence that sits behind the thought. Stay with that feeling for a minute. If thoughts come, notice them without pushing them away. Return to the feeling of being seen by something steady and gentle. When you open your eyes, carry that small sense with you like a warm cup. This question, "Who is the dreamer?" has no single final answer for most people. It is a doorway rather than a destination. The value of the question is not stopping at clever answers, but letting the inquiry change how you live, with more patience, clearer attention, and softer kindness. Whether the dreamer is a brain, a witness, or something in between, the simple act of asking softens the life you live. When you are ready, breathe in slowly and breathe out. Let the calm sink like a stone into still water.